All right, Entree Architect community, it's 4 p.m. Eastern, which means it's time for the Entree Architect Context and Clarity Live conversation for Thursday, January 13th, 2022. Thanks for joining us today. As you get here, say hi. Let us know that you're here and let us know where you're joining the conversation from. If we've never met before, my name's Jeff. I come here every weekday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern for one reason, so that we can find clarity around the things that matter most to you, the architect. It doesn't matter if you're the employee of a firm or you own your own firm. Maybe you've circled a date on the calendar and you said 2022 is your year. Or maybe you have owned your own firm for a year or 10 years or, I don't know, 29 years, and you're starting to rethink or reimagine what your firm could or maybe even should be. All of the topics that we cover, one topic every day, they're all the need to know topics for the success of small firm architects just like you. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome back to Context and Clarity Live. As usual, for Context and Clarity Live, I'm joined by my co-host, Katharine MacPhail. Hi, Katharine. How are you?
Hi, Jeff. Fine. How are you?
I'm fine too. Thank you.
Awesome.
Before we went live, we were talking about black holes earlier. I'm not sure exactly. It really
Yeah.
maybe we just got sucked into the matrix. I'm not sure.
Okay. That I realized during the meditation minute we have before we come on here that I hadn't said why I brought that up.
True.
It seemed like a completely random thing I said, but there was a
very
reason.
random.
I'll tell you later what it was.
Okay.
I thought I was lost in that sort of thing in the matrix.
Katharine is joining us from the matrix today.
Yep.
I'm always in the matrix, so I can't really complain about that. Let me look at our screen here. I see Sarah Lee was in first. She's in Salt Lake City, Utah. Welcome, Sarah Lee, and congratulations on winning another crocheted bathtub. That's the award, and I have to say we have a new name. It's the John Kenny Memorial Crocheted Bathtub Award that Katharine or Sarah Lee has won for being first in today. I'll talk about that.
I was actually first. I mean, so maybe I could have it. I was here first, but
no, you can have one. We'll give you one as
I have plenty actually.
Katharine is manufacturing them in her basement.
Scott
office. Thrift, welcome back from hazy San Francisco, and Chris Novelli from Massachusetts. Christian's here from Ithaca, New York. Diego is joining us over on YouTube, and Yoko from Alexandria, Virginia. Jefferson's joining us from LA and LinkedIn at the same time from the same place. Ed Shannon, welcome back from Des Moines, Iowa. Wendy Brown is in Western Massachusetts. Brian McCartney, hello from Vermilion, Ohio. Neighbor, great to have you with us. And Pam's joining us. She's ready to learn a thing or two. That's awesome. I'm glad you are, Pam. Welcome back from San Diego. And anybody else that's out there, if you haven't said hi yet, say hi. Let us know that you're here and let us know where you're joining the conversation from. Even if you're just planning to listen in or multitask, that's fine. Let's just see where this conversation spreads today. If you happen to be showing up on the screen, if you see yourself on, well, two things, I guess. If you see yourself on the screen and you just show up, you see your comment and you show up as Facebook user without your picture, that means you need to give Facebook permission to let your information out to Restream, which is the platform that we use here. Another thing that could be happening is you could be commenting and your comment not showing up. Same deal. You need to let Facebook have Facebook give permission to Restream to let your information out. To do that, there is a URL at the bottom left of your screen right now. It's chat.restream.io/FB, as in Facebook. And that, a couple of clicks, you'll be done. And that should fix everything. That will solve all the problems of the world. Just go to chat.restream.io/FB and solve all the problems of the world. That's the key to everything. I mentioned John Kenny earlier. Many of you heard this yesterday. I opened up Context and Clarity yesterday with some sad news. One of our originals, one of the very first people in the Context and Clarity community, who's a great friend of the community, a great supporter of the community. John Kenny passed away yesterday morning. He left behind his wife and his daughter. So one thing that we have done, and just want to share this before we get started here, is that Artemis has set up a fund to help support John Kenny's family. There's a link at the bottom left of your screen now, entrearchitect.com. It's a short link entrearchitect.com/Kenny Fund. That will take you to the GoFundMe page where we're raising a little bit of assistance, a little bit of help for John's family for whatever they need. It's just a way for us to give back to John and to his family and show our appreciation for one of the beloved memories or beloved members of our community here. So entrearchitect.com/Kenny Fund is the link that you need for that. And for anybody that's joining us from the podcast world, future, as we are having this conversation now, welcome. Glad that you're joining us. And I think you're going to be really interested in this conversation here today. This is going to be a fun one. It's going to be an important one. I say that probably just about every week, but this is going to be important. We've talked all week about public speaking. Some of us say, hey, I'm not a public speaker. But public speaking means a lot of things. Could be on stage, could be in front of the city council. It could mean a lot of things. We're going to learn a lot today. No pressure, but we're going to learn a lot today as we have all week, and really looking forward to this conversation. So, Katharine, what have I done? What have I forgotten? Anything?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think you've covered it. Covered it pretty well.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing up the whole Artemis thing. That's nice of you.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We need to get that out there so that we can support John's family. And again, the link is in the bottom left corner of your screen, entrearchitect.com/Kenny Fund. If you'd like to give whatever you can, whatever you feel that you can for John and his family.
Yep.
With that, let's shift gears here a little bit. Let me introduce our guest today. Because again, I think this is going to be a fun conversation. I think it's going to be an important conversation. Our guest today is an empowerer. I don't even know if that's a word, but they're an empowerer. She's an actor, a writer, a teacher. She's the founder of both Boston Public Speaking and San Diego Public Speaking, and the host of a podcast called Building Confidence. She empowers people by transforming the way they approach presenting and speaking in public, and helps them to freak out less and have more fun in the process. She's a co-founder of Leap Media Training in Boston and the author of Your Guide to Public Speaking. Build your confidence, find your voice, and inspire your audience. Amanda Hennessey, welcome to Context and Clarity Live.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Hi.
Well, thanks for joining us today.
Empowerer. I don't like that word. We need to have a better, stronger word for that. And being an empowerer should be an easier word to say, where the powerer thing makes it less. I'll think about one during the course of this.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm down for a new word. And I realize too that we have to rename now our green room, because Amanda has been in the pink room, and she's still in the pink room.
I do admire that.
Welcome back.
Perfect pink background. Yep.
It is it's beautiful. It's one of the most stunning backgrounds that we've had, I think. It's great.
Wow. Thank you. I didn't know if it was too bright for the corporate workshops I do for companies. I was using it with the acting classes I teach. And then I think it was up and I was rushing and I was like, great, here's my background. And people were like, that's really fun. And I thought, okay, great. If it makes me happy, color gives me energy. And so if it's going to like brighten up the room and feel more fun, that's what I'm all about. So it's here. Got the matching bracelet. Yes.
There you go. It's part of your brand. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. Ryan says power coach. What about that?
Sure. Yeah. That.
Simple.
That's cool.
Strong.
That's a good one. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Coach.
We're changing from empowerer to power coach.
Yeah, I love helping people, find that power within that they have, and they're probably using at different moments during the day, during the week, during the year, and it's just reminding them it's always there with them to know how to lean back into that when they're under stress. So,
I love that idea, and obviously, we were talking before we went live earlier that we've been talking all week about public speaking, and that can mean a lot of things, of course. But let me ask you this, maybe as a way to start out, is how did you get into speaking and all these other things that you do. But how did you get into, or how did you become a speaker, if we can say it that way?
Sure. It's interesting the way our lives unfold, isn't it? So I'm somebody who has, I think, a innate understanding of teaching. And I feel that that's with me wherever I'm going. I just love thinking about ways to help people understand things more deeply. I love making people laugh. I love people just thinking more deeply about things and contemplating them. And so that's something that's always been with me. And then I was super drawn into becoming a performer and spent many years pursuing acting and a lot of different mediums, and struggled with stage fright, even though I was super well trained, had my master's degree, was getting great reviews. I was very confused that my stomach hurt so much before performing, when I seemed to have all the things lined up: a lot of training, a tremendous amount of rehearsal and discipline, a lot of positive feedback. Doing, in this particular show, I was playing Lois Lane. I had a 15-minute monologue, speaking incredibly quick, like a reporter from the 50s, and so, but I was in tremendous physical pain, and I thought I was getting food poisoning. I was not. I was like, oh my gosh, I have stage fright. What? Like, this is this is not good. Anyway, I will eventually answer your question, but I basically saw that really handling your nervous system is its own adventure. And so I did everything I could to find a way to get my joy back for doing what I love to do. And so along the way, and I've been an acting teacher and an acting coach for a really long time. And I've, at different times in my life, been asked to speak on different topics. And that was always a happy place for me, because I always think of it as being a teacher, like being a coach. Like, you can do it. I'm also like a cheerleader, and I know there can be a lot of different connotations with being a cheerleader, but like, there's a lot of pink here, and I do love to cheer people on. You can do this. Get that ball. So basically, I think, as a performer, in a way, you are publicly presenting in a way. I've given talks. I've taught for a long time, and then somebody asked me. Somebody said to me, "I know you're an acting coach, but I have like a presentation for this bank that I'm working at, and I'm really scared. Could you help me?" And I thought, sure, I'm sure I could help you with your nervous system and making it more fun, more funny, more clear, and that you could teach people rather than having the whole experience be a referendum on your self-worth. So I think that in terms of moving towards public speaking coaching and training, all of those things wove together, and led to me being so passionate about it, and finding it actually more compelling than pursuing acting. I think it's enabled me to be even more of myself. Like, oh, that's a cool role, actually playing myself. And so a lot of the speaking I do is about public speaking, very layered in that way, which I love. And for me, it's so much about educating and still creating a great experience for my audience, which is entertaining, and people are learning. So that's my long answer to your question.
No, that's a great answer. I want to come back to the nerves piece of it, because that's come up a lot this week. Um,
Yeah.
but maybe, going to the power coach uh, part of the conversation, there are plenty of people in the audience that are going to say, "Well, I'm not a public speaker," or "I don't want to be a quote unquote speaker." And in my mind, they're probably thinking, "I don't want to get up on stage in front of a bunch of people." But there's other forms of this, like we've said. So why is it important that all of us get better at presenting, at speaking, at maybe at even at a base communicating?
Yes, I think if we broaden it out, it's a lot about how can I be a confident communicator, because that can work in your romantic relationships, as a parent, as somebody fighting for something at City Hall, championing your plans and your vision, and or even navigating a raise. So I think those things, and yes, public speaking, often people are like, I want to be in the casket. I don't want to give the eulogy. So I think words are really important, and the ones we choose, our body will tell us if our body likes them or not. Like, do they create a sense of safety or not? And so if public speaking makes you shut down, then don't do it. Decide, you can reframe it and be like, I'm talking about something I care about to people. Well, that sounds way better. I'm fighting for something that I believe in. Great. We can even let go of being like, this is a public speaking experience. If that feels stressful, let's not even call it that. Let's call it something that your nervous system can handle. And so I do think being able to express our ideas and our vision clearly is really important. We have a lot of problems around us in the world, and we need all boots on the ground from everybody's perspective to try to help fix them, or at least give us food for thought as we figure out how to fix them. And so if we can make it less about ourselves, and as I've said before, like that referendum on our self-worth, like we can put so much weight on that one presentation our boss is making us do, and oh gosh, our body, we can make it all about us. And I think that's where the hell begins. That's where the sleepless nights, that's where the self-doubt comes in, because it becomes about something that it's ideally not about. Ideally, it's simply about the ideas you're communicating and creating an experience for your audience, rather than like, do you like me? That thing happened in middle school and I've never quite resolved it and I hope to fix it here. So yes, I think I answered your question.
You did. You definitely did.
Feels like a long time ago that it was asked. So let me know if I.
No, it's good, and you touched on some things that as I'm kind of grinding the gears on and thinking about as you're talking. Some of this sounds, or maybe a lot of this sounds like mindset. So, do you have a handful of mindset tricks that you use? Hey, it's not about me; it's about them, or we're not going to call it that, or whatever. Is that a big part of what you're coaching and what you suggest that people do?
Enormously. Yes, I have quite a few, and I can even share some of them here.
Yeah.
Mindset things, because I think we really want to see, how are we thinking about an experience as we prepare for it and do the work to gather our data, our information, our graphics, and rehearse. Because if my agenda underneath it all is from a fear-based place, then this is going to be a beautifully fearful experience. And if it's from more of a place of service and creating something new that's good for the world, making a difference in some way, advocating for someone or something, I think that sense of purpose is going to give us more courage. And so here are a few of my faves. A little mantra. So here are a few mantras that I think can be helpful. It's okay if I'm nervous. Accepting how I feel is better than fighting how I feel. Because if you think about, we're going out to speak about something we care about, we're taking a risk, right? We're coming forward. Do we need to beat ourselves up for having nerves? Like that, does that help us be courage? Did that grammar make sense? It did not. Does that help us be courageous? No. And there's a new analogy I'm using, which I'm pretty excited about. And that is like, you're not a piñata. Like if you get beat up, good things are not going to come out of you. So why would we then condemn and judge ourselves for having those nerves when we're about to do something that requires courage? We need to do all we can to get in a sweet spot, I think, of that self-acceptance. We need to be before we do. And so with that, another mantra I love is, I release the need to prove my worth. Now, you might want to prove that your building will stand. You might want to prove that
Fair point.
the town council should approve your plans. You may have to prove those things, but do you need to prove that you have a right to exist or prove that you have self-worth? Let's not have the talk be about that. let's really keep it what it ideally is about. So that sense of I'm making this about sharing my point of view. Like another mantra I love is my unique point of view is valuable. And I'd say for any of the listeners out there, whether they're live or listening to this through a podcast, I would say sit and see how your body reacts to the thoughts you're having, because your body will tell you if it likes them or not. And I like to think about Marie Kondo, that sense of like what sparks joy, like what outfit sparks joy. We're very choosy about our clothing, right? I mean, maybe less so at the pandemic. We've all decided perhaps pajamas are okay for work if no one sees them, right? So like, but if we can be choosing, okay, what thought is going to really help my body, my nervous system, and my thinking, let's wear that thought. Let's keep thinking that thought. Let's not think the other thoughts. Like, I better not screw this up. I don't think that's a fun thing to think, right?
No.
I think a lot of people may go into speaking like, I better not screw this up. So if we think about that energetically, it's a matter of, I better go in to not do something. Like, it's weird, right? Like, I'm going to go in and walk on eggshells rather than like, I'm excited to make a difference. Right? Or I'm excited to be here even.
Yeah.
Like I want to
I've
be
always,
here.
the way I've always thought about it, you can tell me if this is good or not, but it doesn't matter how many people in the room, right? Who knows what the context is, who knows what the audience is. But I've always thought, you know what? It's not about me. There's one person in this audience that came here today. They made an effort, at least the effort to walk through the door, and they need to hear what I have to say. I don't know why, but you talked about doing it in service to somebody else. That's always the attitude that I've taken. There's one person in this room that needs to hear what I have to say, and so I need to get out there and say it for them. Is that the type of mindset that we're talking about?
Totally. I think that's a beautiful, oh good type mindset. I know I've led and taught so many different things, and sometimes there's huge attendance and sometimes it's small. And what I really try to get into is a sense of like, I'm just going to trust this experience is what it needs to be for the participants. Sure, as a coach, if my programs are more filled, then yeah, I make more cash. But I think life is bigger than that. And I think sometimes when I have like a really intimate group, I'm like, this is what these people needed. They needed something to feel really safe, to have that transformative experience, or that audience. Yes, we needed it to feel intimate. That was going to serve the people in the room. Or like, it's really big. Great. The group energy is what's needed for these particular people. Great. Like, it can all be good. And so it's because I think that when we may have expectations, and then it's like, oh, only 3 people showed up, but 3 people showed up. And like, how can we have a great time with them? Because like, then they showed up and then you're like, oh no, all right, I guess I'll do it. And you're bringing this energy and they're like, oh, wow, she doesn't seem good. I'm not gonna my friends about this, right? This is lame. So like, we just want to keeping like, I'm psyched to be here forever. Like, be the flower, let the audience be the butterfly and the bees, let them circle around. You just keep being gorgeous and like, show your petals, share this experience, and yeah, you'll get who you get. But like, Jeff, I do love that philosophy you shared. Thumbs up. 10 stars.
I've never told anybody this, but I always, when I walk out there, I always picture myself as a gorgeous flower with petals.
No, really? What kind of flower?
Don't ask me that. My degree was
Oh.
architecture, not
God,
landscape architecture.
He's already been opening up. We don't want to.
Just the kind with the petals that go like this?
Yeah, just like that,
Okay.
a daisy or something.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't ask the hard-hitting questions here.
Well, that's why you're here.
Investigative journalism.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. Now, obviously, we're talking about mindsets to maybe help alleviate some of those nerves or get you past that. And like I said before, that's been a topic, right? In and of itself. nerves and being nervous, no matter, again, if it's 3,000 people or it's the city council or whatever it is. What else? What else do you have to do? And the way that you described it earlier was very physical, especially with your experience. How do you get over something like that?
I think it's finding out like what are the thoughts around the nerves. And it's really taking time to get quiet and see what's what. Like, what am I making this about? Something feels very threatening. I do not feel safe. Is it that like my boss is going to be there and that is so intimidating because like they decide how much money I'm going to make? Is it that like I'm going to turn bright red and be mortified and I'm not going to be respected or seen as credible? Like, what exactly is it? It could be a few different layers, but I think it can, for me, over time, it became what I saw is was such a perfectionist. I was like, this has to be perfect. Good luck. Right. It was like, if this is not perfect, then, and I probably had some scary things. I had a really arbitrary story that I had made up that I totally was like wedded to, that I needed to divorce. So we can start to see like, okay, what am I tweaked about? Then we can start to be like, oh, is this true? Do I need to have that be true? What would be a much more fun thought? What would bring me so much more looseness? I know you mentioned I wrote a book, and so I wrote a book, and the publisher, the imprint, asked me to do a workshop for the employees there. So I was really excited. And then I noticed myself getting really nervous in a way that I really hadn't felt in a very long time. And I was like, something's going on with me. Like, what's up? Like, what? I'm getting weird in a way that I'm now not used to. And I was like, I'm thinking about this strangely. And I was like, oh, I see what's happening. I've made this about me because I was like, okay, they've read my book. They know all my thoughts. They know my strategies. They probably know my jokes. They're going to they already know this. And so and are they going to think then that it's good that I had the blah, blah, blah. So I was making it all about what's my reputation going to be? Like, what are they going to think about me? And that's just hell. And I was like, oh, I'm making this about me. I see. And I'm making this about my ego. I'm making this about my image. All right. That's the problem. Okay, great. So let's go back to the way you normally think. There are going to be people there who hate doing this and are really nervous and they want Tums and like you can help them. Oh, cool. Great. I can do that. Totally calm down. So I think if we can simply find out what are the sentences connected to that fear? Again, it may help by being really quiet. And then again, creating that sense of safety. Like for me, it was like letting go of a need to be perfect. Like I'm a little clumsy. Like I, might write on myself with pen or like back up into a blackboard and have chalk on me or spill water. Like, oh, well, like I'm okay. As long as I've helped you, I'm good. I'm okay if you don't think I'm perfect. I'm actually, it's like if things go a little wrong for me and I can model handling it with humor, I'm like, great, it's okay. So those are some ways you can start to work on it. And I think the mindset, and I also think body language is really helpful. Again, we do choose the outfits we wear for things. And so can we choose the mindset that's going to serve us? And can we choose body language that'll serve us? Body language being something that not only sends a message out, but sends a message in. Like if everyone were to sit in your chair right now, wherever you are, and get really, really small, you may start to notice, like it's not sending out such a great image, right? But it's also like I'm starting to constrict my breathing. And when I start to cut off my breathing more and I get in here, I start to feel more insecure having made this choice. This is like started a whole little song. Now for actors, this is great news because I can quickly play somebody. If I'm like, oh, she's insecure, great. I'll go a little more indirect and small. Great. Now I'm thinking that way. Now I'm going to say things in that way. I'm good. Oh, she's really pissed at the world. Okay, great. I'm going to get closed and big and like My tone is going to change. I'm using my instrument differently. I'm pissed at everyone. What? Right? Do you see how like it all came together with these choices? So we're going to let her go. She's not great for this podcast. So now I'm going to open. I'm going to take up more space. I'm going to get sparkly. That's one of my favorite things. That's what I like to bring. Wow, now I'm like, and I've chosen a different energy with my body language. And I'm like, I can breathe. I can think. I want to have fun. There's a little twinkle in my eye. I'm going to be wittier. Like, so do you see how like it sent out a message, but I also started tapping into those things. And again, this is how actors work. And so we're calling up different aspects of ourselves for these occasions. Like, wow, I really respect in my field are going to be there. So I have a choice. I can shrink back and be like, they're so big. I'm so small. Wow. Okay. So now I'm going to have small thoughts and I'm going to like, I'm going to be more fearful. I don't have enough oxygen. Or it's like, wow, the big guns are in the room. Sorry that we have such a violent language. Bullets. I crushed it. I killed it. That's a whole other topic. But
that
like
is
the people I really like, wow, great. I want to bring my, right? It's not that I'm becoming an arrogant jerk, but it's like, well, even if I'm 20 years younger, even if I look different from everyone else in the room, I'm going to bring my full self to collaboratively solve the problems we're facing. So those are a number of my strategies for like all the choices we can make to work with our body, work with our breath, and work with our minds to like share with the world. Amen.
And speaking of that, I know Christian asked this question this morning on Clubhouse, and I think it popped up. There you go. Thanks. In the book, you describe a breathing exercise, and Christian said he's reading the book, right? So it's words on paper or words on Kindle, however he was looking at it. It was hard for him to understand. So the question is, can you demonstrate that exercise to project your voice with the breathing and the exhaling?
Certainly. And I think I may have seen an earlier question from him too about why I didn't narrate my own book. And I actually really did try to advocate for that. And I really wanted to, but it was not in the cards. I don't know. I would have loved to have done that, but I may have it's all okay. But that is why I did really want to.
You would have been great at it. And I could tell that it wasn't you. I didn't even know you, but I could tell it wasn't the lady who
It wasn't the
book.
person who wrote it. Maybe in the future I'll get to do it, but it wasn't in the cards for this moment. Oh, well. So great. So yes. So yeah, question number 2. Wow. So I'm reversing it. Okay, great. So the question is, how do you do the ooh and the S? So this is in a chapter, just to give some context and clarity for this moment, is with projecting our voice and having, even when we're not necessarily even having to fill an auditorium with our voice, it can even give us a clearer sound when we're sitting down on Zoom. There's something called the diaphragm, which is like a muscle, and I'm going to stand up and do this little awkward thing. So like if we think about, yep, this is happening. All right. So for those of you who cannot see me because you're driving in the car, basically what I've done is I've given a nice sideways view, but I'm still here, and just put my hand kind of over my belly button in a way. That's a way to think about it. And of what you're going to want to do is to like breathe in so that this is so awkward, but oh well. We're going to breathe in to fill this up and then breathe out. And that's going to give you more power to like, if your kids are running into the street without looking, to yell at them to stop so you won't lose your voice. Right. And so basically I'll just demonstrate. I'm going to take a breath in and I'm letting it out. So that's something to start to work that diaphragm. So we're supporting. And then what the question is like, so if I take that deep breath in, so I'm going to take a breath in, I'm gonna make sound on the exhale. Okay, so I'm taking that breath in, Ooh. Ooh. Like then I'm supporting it from that breath. So we can think about it. Basically, what we're wanting to do, if you think about a wave and a surfer, your air is the wave, the words are the surfer. I'm going to speak on the exhale. All right. Now, if I'm somebody who has vocal fry, I'm going to demonstrate that. So
Oh, you don't have
this
to.
is vocal fry. So I don't really
Yeah.
have enough oxygen and it's a little creaky voice. And some people like find this pretty cool. And I'm not a huge fan.
I'm not a
I don't think
fan.
it's as lovely to listen to. I think it's
Mm-mm.
harder to project. And I think it's harder to understand. So I would say basically the incentive to practice these things is so that I can send my voice across the room without pushing from the muscles in my throat. If you've ever lost your voice because you were screaming at a concert or in a loud bar, a loud party,
At your kids.
at the totally at the kids because they're winning the championship
Yeah,
game
right.
at the arena, or just
Yeah.
because
I
they're
don't think
really
that's why
ruining your
Catherine was yelling at the
or because
kids.
they're ruining your life in that particular moment.
Yeah. I was just kidding.
It's the temptation is to basically push from here. If you've never taken like been in the high school choir or done certain instruments, there's no reason you would know how to do this. But really, I can save my throat to yell at my kids another day by taking that deeper breath in all the way down and then speaking on the exhale. So I highly recommend practicing that at home. And another way to really get in touch with that is to grab a I was gonna say grab a newspaper. How cute am I? Go in a time machine and get a newspaper and then telegraph me and let me know how it went. Salutations. No, grab a book or your Kindle and basically if you lie on your back, on a bed, you might fall asleep, try to stay awake, or on the floor, you can start to read it out loud, and there's a way that your breath may start to automatically get in that rhythm just so you can really get a sense of breathing more deeply and allowing the diaphragm to support the air as it's coming out. So it's not coming out from here in a pushed way. That really protects your vocal cords. When I was in graduate school for acting, we learned a lot about the voice and protecting the voice. And we would actually see, they showed us like almost like those drunk driving movies they'd show you in high school and like seeing like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
don't want that to happen to me. They would show like nodes on the vocal cords. They would just show like, if you don't use your voice correctly and you smoke or, you are totally dehydrated and you can really hurt yourself. And they'd be like, cause it'll look like this. And you're like, oh my God. So don't do that at home, kids. Yeah. So
Wow.
that is my response to that question. Thank you for asking.
Okay. Well, on a slightly different note,
Excellent.
we have this. Yeah, I think a newspaper is better to use than a book because if you drop the book on your face while you're doing that as you fall asleep, it actually can break your nose, depending on the book. All right. So
But you could
Mark
wake up in the
says,
morning with newsprint all over your face.
yeah, that's true.
We're showing
Magazine
our
might be
age.
better. Mark says, I have noticed that my excuse me, I'm gonna start again. I have noticed that my live and in-person communicating skills are greatly reduced from being locked away for 2 years. Have you noticed others having to touch up their everyday speaking skills due to COVID?
I continue to get lots of clients. That was happening before the pandemic. It's continuing to happen now. I've definitely had more conversations about how do I use Zoom? How do I look better on here? Like it's so awkward when people talk over each other. What the heck do we do? So I think, I think it will be interesting once more offices, more workplaces are back, because I do think it may be a little more overwhelming to get in front of an audience just because we're not even used to being around people as much. And so I think having that be okay and normal, so that we're not like, what's wrong with me? Well, I don't know. You've been in an international trauma for 2 years. So there's that. Um, okay. I'm just getting a big red alert message that something is wrong. Am I still happy?
No,
Am I
you're
okay?
fine. Yep, you're
Okay.
fine.
With like reloading, I was like, danger, Will Robinson. So yeah, so I think it completely would make sense that you would feel awkward and like, I don't know, I don't feel like I know how to do this anymore. This is just strange. And I think that all makes sense. And so not to judge yourself with that and get that practice when you can. So I guess that would be my shorter answer to that question.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
I think that all makes sense. I mean, I had my first in-person speaking gig. I guess it was right before Thanksgiving, so this is the first one in a long time, right? Conferences have started to come back a little bit and are probably going away again, and all of that. But I could not believe how nervous I felt as I was driving. It was in Cincinnati. I was driving over to Cincinnati, um, out of practice. Like you said, I haven't seen people except in this format for 2 years. So being in person, um, was very different. But it's sort of like riding a bike, right? It came back, got more comfortable.
Yeah.
Uh,
You just can't mute them. There are, yeah,
this is true.
it is, it is interesting and a way. And also we want to know, I do talk a lot about energy that we choose to bring in the room, that we're feeling. And so we're going to know that if it's weird for us, perhaps to be in a big crowded room, it may also feel weird for the audience, even though hopefully we're going to be at that place where that feels really safe. But we've been told for a long time, that it's not. And so, right, um, and so we, this has been very intense. And I don't want to go on a whole tangent about this topic, except to say we want to respect our nervous system. And like, if we're coming in and we're like, wow, the vibes in here feel weird and I feel weird, you're probably correct. Right. Like, and having that be okay. And even that more sense of like, how do I create a sense of safety for myself? How do I create a sense of safety for my audience? And and another analogy I like to talk about is like, okay, we are so aware of how much charging we need to do with our phone. Like, where we know where the outlets are. Every night we're like, I have to charge up my phone. But I wish we thought about ourselves more this way. Like, how can I recharge my own batteries every day? And because they really need to be charged up for things that have perhaps more people, the stakes feel higher. So anything we can do to like know, what does it mean for me to plug myself into the wall? Do not plug yourself into the wall unless you are an AI person visiting an AI robot, and then maybe let's
Go
not go
ahead
down
in
that
that
path
case.
either. But so basically, yes, we wanna charge up our own light as we come in to shed light on things, and find a way to do that like helps us feel good entering into like what was so normal just a few years ago, but has been very foreign to us. So yeah.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead, Katharine.
Well, I'm just trying to find the one that you meant. I was gonna go on to Mandy's sometime too before the end.
Yeah, grab them. Yep.
Oh, okay. So here we have Elizabeth's question. Elizabeth Carmichael says, any tips for being more interactive, both virtual and in person?
Sure. I think that questions are excellent. And I think simple questions can be a great way to get people engaged. I just, a few hours ago, led a masterclass. I was doing that all week about like conquering the first 5 minutes of your talk, because I know that's often like an anxiety fest. And I would ask people, like, does anyone like being nervous? Often the chat is very quiet. Does anyone hate it? Put it in the chat. Yes. What do you feel if you feel comfortable? My face turns red. So you can ask questions, or I think the chat can be great in that way. And you may be wondering about how to facilitate interaction, not just using the chat. And there can be, I think there's ways, like the problem is the solution. Because I've definitely had companies reach out to me and say, hey, people are less interactive in meetings because we're in all these different places, we're isolated, and now everyone is just awkward and it's like pulling teeth. What do we do? And so ways to work on this and even overtly say, hey, I know that when two people talk on Zoom or whatever platform you're using at the same time, it's really awkward, but let's just know that's going to happen and we'll figure it out. Like, just name it. Cause I think we're like, oh no, after you. No, after you. And we're like, 10 minutes have gone by. Oh, but if we can say like, okay, great, you go, and then I'll go. Like, if we can keep it, like, just acknowledge what is the awkwardness of our medium and then just have it be okay and move on. And I think asking interesting questions, poignant questions, I think those can be interesting things to do. If there's some interesting statistic related to your topic, you could ask people like, how many buildings do people think went up in North Dakota this year? Put it in the chat. What do you think? Because I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you.
I thought that was something you knew.
Yeah.
Research your audience.
I wish I knew. If somebody does know, put it in the chat. But like, if or how many new women principals are there in architecture firms in our state? Does anyone have any idea? Does anyone want to take a guess? I'm going to give you 3 different options. Does anyone know why? Like, we can ask questions that can help get people thinking about the topic we want to cover. And I think that can be a way. And especially if we keep the interaction in the beginning simple, maybe we ask kind of a funny question where people could be like, yes, no, blue, whatever it is, just keep it simple. And then it can get, because then people are more comfortable interacting. I think that can be helpful. Or even if it's like, so everyone, we're on Zoom. So tell me, what's super awkward about being on Zoom? And then you can right away find out people are like, oh my God, we talk over each other. Okay, great. So let's do that a lot. I'd rather have us talk over each other than not say anything. So our goal today is to talk over each other 4 times, and we'll all get a prize if we do it. Just to get, let's just make it a game, not to make us rude, but how can we make this a little bit more playful and fun rather than awkward?
Yeah. I know this is, maybe getting a little bit further off than speaking, but what about when you're on Zoom and people don't have their cameras on? Do you have any tips for that? We got 30 people in the room and 28 of them have their cameras off.
Right. It's so interesting having watched what companies have done with this and talking to people about it, because it went from everyone have your cameras on so we know you're really here. And then it was like, oh, wow, people may be going through really hard things. It's okay if your cameras aren't on. That's all right. Because you now feel weird that all of accounting can see your living room and your new dog and that your kids are a nightmare. So I think that privacy issue has been so tricky, but then are people really there? And I think that if there's ways to encourage it in a positive way, and because basically we're over the past few years, we've been creating culture in our companies. What is it? How does our company do this? And sometimes it can be really unconscious culture. Oh, our meetings always start 5 minutes late. I don't know. We haven't really talked about it, but that's just how it is. And it may be a matter of deciding you know what? I think I kind of like starting the meeting 5. Let's be intentional. Let's say about what's been happening. I like that our meeting is 5 minutes late, because then people chit chat a little bit before everybody's on. So great. We're going to keep that, but let's be really overt about it. Or you know what? We've turned into a culture that is not having our screens on. And while I'd love to know why people are making that choice. Is it because there's a lot of pajamas? Is it because people are actually not paying attention and we need to make please, why are people not feeling comfortable? Because we actually really want people to be present. And I don't think this is helping this, because if it's put your Camera's on, darn it. If we can come with that intention, I think in deciding like, what is the video, the online culture we have created intentionally or unintentionally, is it working for us? Is it not? When does it feel fine? Because I know some people turning off the camera makes it easier for them to concentrate. For other people, it means they can, like, I don't know, learn how to play the mandolin while at work. So there's, and like, I think it's like getting just really clear and asking people their honest feedback and then getting people to try to commit, because it's better for everyone if we, so I think for me in these master classes I just did, people came on and I could see there, and I was like, I really encourage you to have your cameras on if you can, and so, and then again, I know I'm teaching a subject which is a little scary, where they may be like, screw that, I don't want to be seen. Do you not realize what you're teaching? It's all about being scared. I'm scared. I don't want to be seen. So so that's my thought to that.
Well, and if they all had a pink background, they would probably all have their cameras on.
So let me just talk for a moment about the pink background. The pink background is actually paper. It's photography paper. If you ever see any kind of makeover show that has like a photo shoot or anything, and they have like, it looks like a big roll of paper towels, but it's paper. That's what's behind me right now. Let's see. I'm going to, like the Wizard of Oz, who's here? So great. Let's see if I can show. See, there's a pole, and it's simply holding up a big roll of photography paper, and the brand of the paper is Savage. Yes, I don't know why it is so brutal, and there's beautiful colors. And I, for me, just thought it was really consistent. It wasn't distracting. And having a ring light, also having a light source in front of you, just a word to the wise, rather than behind you, makes all the difference in terms of making you look less tired, like making your skin look better. It actually really helps. When the behind us, that's when we start to look like we're in witness protection. If you are in witness protection, just keep your camera off, right? But if you're not,
that's a good tip.
You want to look good, have the light source, whether it be a lamp or a ring light, like having that window behind you, like and if you have a ring light or which are not that expensive on, wherever you want to look online, you then are in control of your lighting. Because I've definitely taught classes that happen as the sun is setting. And in the beginning, I'm like, there they are. And then at the end, I'm like, are we on a romantic date together now? It's like the mood lighting, and like it's really dark, because they're relying on the sun, which is a wonderful thing. But consistently, we revolve away from it. And so we don't get to see it the whole time. But so, and if you're traveling, you bring a ring light, like you can just always look really good, and you're not like, oh, now I look weird, this doesn't look professional. You can definitely have control over that for not a lot of money.
Yep. Yeah, those are really good tips. And a lot of people always wonder about the white background of the construct. That's not paper, but that is a 6 or 8 foot wide Levelor window shade that was on clearance at Lowe's. That's all that is basically white paper. It's not paper. But
oh, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah.
And obviously a lot of lighting, but
yeah, no, lighting is amazing. There's a reason that, like, if you ever look at a movie set, there's so much light. It's amazing what it does for the face, the skin, like all the things. It's like, as much it might be like, I don't want to even be seen. If you're going to be seen, why not like get the stuff that helps, like things just like look better.
Yeah.
And and it is a little bit of a nightmare. If people were to say like, what's your version of hell? Well, if I was at a meeting and I could see myself the whole time, that would be my definition of hell. Like, well, here it is. You get to watch yourself during the meeting. There is that hide self view. I think that's really dangerous, because then you forget you're on camera. So like, I think it's great, and I think it's a nightmare. So just be super alert. I remember there was one time like, I'm going to hide myself view, and then I was like eating, and then I'm like, oh, I'm still on camera.
They see my Captain Crunch.
Yes.
Yeah. There've been a lot of moments like that over the last couple of years. People forgetting they're on camera.
Yeah.
Awkward.
The Well, I'm glad Pam's taking notes. She says, use your camera unless you're in witness protection. Got it. So I don't know what that means about Pam, but at least she knows now. So
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, you will
that's a
never see
good
me
thing.
again. My name's not really Pam. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I know we're headed very quickly to the top of the hour. We're almost there. And so I've really enjoyed this conversation, but just kind of thinking forward, I suspect we're going to have a mix of virtual and in-person interactions for the time being, right? We may have just had a super spreader event here in Indianapolis where I live this week. So, we may be at this for a while.
Yeah.
What are your thinking about, the professional lives of small firm architects and other small business owners? What do you think is the biggest thing that we need to keep in mind in terms of speaking and communicating and getting better at all of those things going going into 2022?
I think practice helps, and I think practicing in the medium you're using helps. And I think that intimacy and connection and change can happen in this medium, and really beautiful things can happen here. And so even if we're frustrated for so many reasons that like, oh, this is our life now, uh, the more we can really embrace this medium, the better we can do. And so you can do a good job. You can be captivating. You can make a difference. And I think practicing, what's great is you can record yourself and watch it and be like, oh, okay, I actually don't like how that looks. Or, ooh, I'm saying a lot. I'd love to not do that. Like you just hit record and look, you have a whole camera crew right at your disposal. So I would say embrace whatever medium you have. And I just think I'm so grateful to have these opportunities, and like the fact that you've created this whole thing during the pandemic, Jeff, to keep people connected, to share really good ideas. And I think, relying on your network for help when you're feeling dismayed by all this can help with confidence too, that you're not alone, and that like really good things, like probably all these relationships are only going to help people's careers, hopefully, right? So
Yeah.
I hope that addresses it. But I think like roll with it, baby. Let's not be victims. Let's not be victims.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And then even going back to your very first comment at the very beginning of our conversation about all the things that are impacted. It could be a raise, it could be getting the project through the city council, it could be getting your idea across or raising money or any of these things. That's one of the reasons I was so looking forward to this conversation today, and all of the topics that we've covered this week. Is that this is, as much as some of us may not like it, as much as some of us may be very afraid of this idea, it's really important that we get better at communicating. So, Amanda, thanks for bringing this today, and the humor and the all of the great tips and insights. It's been fantastic. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's been great to be here. You can see I'm so super passionate about this because I think we can just have a lot more fun and a lot more ease. So great.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Will you be running? I know you ran your master class, I think it was 3 times this week. Will you be running that again in the future?
I certainly will. I certainly will. And I've just launched a 7-week class that if you go to san diego public speaking.com or bostonpublicspeaking.com, there's a lot of great information there about that. So where people get a chance to practice a lot. So that's happening in the master class. Yeah, I'll probably, but it was a really popular, people responded to it really well. And I got to work in a lot of what we talked about today in that hour. So yeah, that will definitely be happening in the future.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, if you're listening to this in the future, or any of you that are with us here live, go to either san diego speaking.com or bostonspeaking.com.
Actually,
As you
don't do
see,
those things. Go to I'm so sorry I'm cutting you off, but it's
no,
bostonpublicspeaking.com.
oh, sorry. Thank you for that correction. San Diego Public Speaking or bostonpublicspeaking.com. There are tabs up at the top. masterclass, the 7-week course. Go check out Amanda and the information that she has on those websites to learn more. I think there'll be really great resources for you. So again, Amanda, thank you for spending so much time with us today. And to all of you that are out there in our live audience or in our future audience, our podcast audience, thank you. Thanks for being a part of this community. Thanks for tuning in. And we appreciate all of you, every single one of you. Yesterday, of course, with the passing of John Kenny was a great reminder that life is short. I, for one, always thought that I would get a chance to meet John in person and never did. So please take care of yourself. Be well, stay safe, keep those around you safe and well. Take some time tonight to breathe and relax and find a way to rejuvenate, because guess what? We're going to do this all over again tomorrow. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate all of you. And I hope I'll see you all somewhere sometime soon. Bye, everybody.